Why beautiful Philippines is the best scuba diving destination. It begins with a story like no other in this world. At the apex of the Coral Triangle lies a country born purely of volcanic upheaval. She rose out of the Pacific Ring of Fire and turned it into a home for the guardians of the 10 seas. They came from the Pacific Ocean, from the Indian Ocean, and soon enough they came from the shores of the 10 seas of the Philippine Islands. Her trees grew on ophiolites, sections of Earth's oceanic crust and upper mantle that have been uplifted onto land. They are mostly composed of ultramafic and mafic rocks, which are poor in nutrients needed for plant life. Despite their rocky origins, the Philippines became one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Trees flourished like mancono, one of the hardest woods in the world, or the pili tree that thrives in volcanic soil. The tindalo, which grows on limestone, and my favorite fruit tree, the kamagong, and its delicious mabolo fruit. They grew and welcomed guests like the migratory birds of the East Asian, Australian flyaway, like the Chinese sparrowhawk, Oriental honey buzzard, or the gray-faced buzzard. And then more guests came. The prehistoric humans found their way here and made homes in caves. They were the ancient Homo luzonensis, our human relatives, pygmies, who want for nothing because the Philippines in its pure abundance of rich minerals left them wanting not for anything. They became the first guardians to the gate to the Pacific, whose golden shores were only the facade, for what lies beneath was where the treasures truly lie. The 10 seas that formed out of their mother sea, the Philippine Sea of the western Pacific Ocean bound by the Philippine Trench, one of the deepest parts of the ocean. The West Philippine Sea, the location of the second largest contiguous coral reef system. Home to reef sharks and dolphins that sometimes cross over to where I grew my fins in the Verde Island Passage, whose narrow passage funnels and creates wind jets with upwellings that made for a natural biological productivity, making it the infamous center of marine shorefish biodiversity created by a Venturi effect where minerals are ever present and marine life thrives, created by the meeting of the West Philippine Sea and Sibuyan Sea in central Philippines, the Galapagos of Asia, spreading nutrients to the thriving marine life in coral reefs off the shores of the most famous white beach in Asia, Boracay. Her nutrients feed fish of Ticao Pass, whose Manta Bowl Shoal became a cleaning station for mantas and whale sharks. It meets the Visayan Sea of central Philippines where thresher sharks and tiger sharks chose to flourish as they sometimes flow to the Bohol Sea, sometimes called the Mindanao Sea, sharing its riches with Camotes and Samar Seas, where dolphins found solace as well as sea turtles and abundant coral reef systems so unique, and millions of sardines dance by the shores. She flows to the Sulu Sea, of the Southwest, home to Tabataha Reef's Natural Park, needs no introduction, just like the Celebes Sea, south of the Philippines, sharing her deep-sea trenches and diverse marine species with Indonesia, the heart of the Coral Triangle. The Philippine corals thrive despite the bleaching, the storms that can wipe out so many reef systems in one hit. An underwater realm so rich it cultivates the ocean. The navigator of the heart. Charting courses with logic and reason, ensuring the heart stays afloat during the storm, listening to the whispers of the world's oceans, pulling the tides, pushing it along with her minerals and nutrients. Without which, the whole world will be lost.